A careless person only needs a few seconds to create a problem that takes you days to fix. An argumentative person only needs one sentence to ruin your mood for the entire evening. An irresponsible person can make a mistake, blame you, and walk away like nothing happened. The most frustrating part isn't that careless people exist in the world. The most frustrating part is getting dragged into the consequences of their actions even when you did nothing wrong. You try to explain with logic. They change the subject. You provide evidence. They attack your character. You try to keep the peace. They see your patience as a green light to keep crossing boundaries. The problem isn't that you haven't found a clever enough comeback to change them. The problem is that you are still using reason to play a game that isn't built on reason. In this video, we will explore how to protect yourself from people who act without thinking, create chaos, and refuse to take responsibility. Not by becoming cruel, not by winning every argument, but by stopping them from controlling your time, your emotions, and your decisions. The first principle can help you avoid most unnecessary conflicts before they even start. Principle number 1. Recognize behavior, don't be fooled by words. Troublemakers rarely introduce themselves as irresponsible. They usually talk a great game about their intentions, their values, and their plans. That is why you must judge them by their repeated behavior. A single mistake does not define a person. Everyone forgets an appointment, says something without thinking, makes a bad decision, or reacts emotionally at some point. What matters is the pattern. A mature person makes a mistake, takes responsibility, and changes their behavior. A dangerous person makes a mistake, makes an excuse, and repeats it. A colleague consistently finishes tasks late. Every single time they give a different excuse, their computer crashed. They didn't get the message, someone didn't support them. The instructions were unclear, or the timeline was too tight. One excuse might be valid, but 10 different excuses leading to the exact same result shows that the problem is no longer the situation. The problem is a behavioral pattern. Keep track of what actually happens, not just what is promised. Observe behavior across different situations. Don't judge a change based on an apology. Wait for consistent proof before handing back your trust. Learn to tell the difference between a mistake and a habit. Don't let convincing words make you ignore repeated evidence. Principle number 2. Don't argue with people who don't want to understand. A conversation is only valuable when both sides are willing to listen and adjust their viewpoints. If the other person's only goal is to win, provoke you, or make you lose your temper, logic will not save the conversation. You might think, if I just explain it more clearly, they will understand. But sometimes the problem isn't clarity. The problem is that they refuse to understand. Some people argue to find the truth. Some people argue to protect their ego. Others just want to drag you into a state of anger so they can feel powerful. You explain how a specific decision caused a problem. They don't address the issue. Instead, they bring up a mistake you made 3 years ago. When you explain that the old mistake is irrelevant, they accuse you of dodging responsibility. The conversation is no longer about solving a problem. It has turned into a maze designed to never end. Use clear conversation-ending statements. We are repeating the same point. I don't think this conversation is productive anymore. I've already shared my perspective. I won't continue if we can't stick to the main issue. We can agree to disagree, then stop talking. You don't need to win an argument against someone who doesn't follow the rules of logic. You just need to walk away with your peace of mind intact. Principle number 3. Don't share too much information. Not everyone who asks a question has the right to hear the whole answer. Personal information can be used to pressure you, create guilt twist, a narrative provoke you, interfere with your decisions, or spread rumors. When someone doubts or criticizes you, your natural instinct is to offer more details to prove you're right. But the more you explain, the more ammunition you hand them to argue, misinterpret, ask more questions, and attack minor details. Privacy is not deception. It is your ability to decide who gets access to which parts of your life. You decide to change careers. A pessimistic acquaintance asks, "Why are you quitting? Where is the new job? How much does it pay? Are you sure about this? What if you fail?" You could answer every single question and spend an hour defending your choice. Or you could simply say, "I've thought it through and this is the right move for me." Share your plans after you've taken action. Keep sensitive details away from people who can't keep a secret. Give short answers when questions cross the line. Never justify your finances, relationships, or personal goals to people who aren't involved. Learn to distinguish between people who are curious and people who genuinely care. Other people cannot use information you haven't given them. Principle number 4. Build boundaries with consequences. A boundary without a consequence is just a suggestion. Saying things like, "Please don't talk to me like that. I hope you'll be on time next time," or "You shouldn't share my private business," might be necessary at first. But if the behavior continues and nothing changes, the other person learns that your words carry no weight. An effective boundary always has two parts: the behavior you won't accept and what you will do if that behavior continues. If you keep yelling, "I will end this conversation. If the work isn't submitted on time, I will reassign it to someone else. If my private information keeps getting shared, I won't share anything else with you. If you insult me, I will leave." Boundaries aren't a tool to control other people. You can't force someone to be calm, honest, punctual, respectful, or responsible. You can only decide how you will respond when they fail to be those things. You tell someone you don't want to take calls after 11 at night. They call anyway. If you keep answering, your actions are saying this boundary can be ignored. When you stop answering and respond the next morning, the boundary actually begins to exist. State your boundaries concisely. Don't make threats you aren't prepared to enforce. Apply consequences calmly. Don't spend hours debating your right to have a boundary. Stay consistent. People learn how to treat you based on what you continuously tolerate. Principle number 5. Separate emotions from important decisions. People who create chaos often pressure you to react quickly before you have time to think. They manufacture fake urgency, trigger your anger, make you feel guilty, demand an immediate decision, threaten to walk away, or cause drama, attack your self-esteem, and force you to prove your loyalty or affection. When strong emotions hit, your ability to evaluate risk drops. You might agree to something you don't want, send a text you'll regret, spend money recklessly, reveal private information, make promises you can't keep, or end a relationship in a fit of rage. Wise people aren't necessarily slow thinkers in every situation. They simply refuse to let anyone else dictate the speed of their decisions. Someone says, "If you really cared about me, you would say yes right now." That isn't reasoning. That is emotional manipulation disguised as proof of affection. Use delaying statements. "I need time to think about this. I will give you an answer tomorrow." I don't make decisions when I'm angry. If this needs an immediate answer, then my answer is no. I need to verify the facts first. Any decision that doesn't allow you time to think is likely not a decision in your best interest. Principle number 6. Verify instead of blindly trusting. Confident ignorance can cause far more damage than someone simply admitting they don't know. You must verify financial advice, health information, work agreements, contracts, rumors, fear-mongering, claims, investment promises, or third-hand information. Human beings frequently confuse confidence with competence. Someone who speaks fast, acts certain, and uses fancy jargon can feel trustworthy. But a loud tone of voice is not evidence. A claim can be repeated 1,000 times and still be completely wrong. A friend insists an investment is a guaranteed win because they watched a few videos. They don't understand the risks, the fees, the liquidity, the legality, or the chances of losing capital. If you invest purely based on their enthusiasm, You are the one who will suffer the financial blow. Check the source of the information. Look for independent proof. Ask qualified professionals. Read the terms before you agree to anything. Request information in writing. Never make a major decision based on a single source. Separate personal anecdotes from reliable evidence. A little healthy skepticism is a lot cheaper than cleaning up the mess of blind trust. Principle number 7. Document important matters when dealing with irresponsible people. Memory and spoken words are rarely enough to protect you. Get agreements, deadlines, task assignments, requirement changes, payments, incidents, warnings, and critical decisions documented. Someone might easily say, "I never agreed to that." "You misunderstood, that wasn't my job. You never told me," or "the deadline isn't today." When everything exists only in verbal conversations, the truth quickly devolves into a debate over memory. Clear documentation leaves very little room for twisting the facts. After a meeting, send a quick message or email. "Just to confirm our conversation, I will finish Part A by Thursday, and you will send Part B by Tuesday." This doesn't mean you're being paranoid. It means you are creating clarity. Confirm agreements in writing. Save invoices and documents. Note the exact date and time of critical incidents. Take screenshots of project statuses when necessary. Never rely on verbal promises for high-risk issues. Keep your tone neutral, never insulting. When the facts are written down, it becomes much harder for anyone to rewrite history. Principle number 8. Stop rescuing people who constantly create crises. Helping someone through a genuine rough patch is very different from constantly rescuing someone from the consequences of behavior they refuse to change. Signs you've become a rescuer include they only reach out when they're in trouble. You're always lending money or doing their work for them. You lie to cover up their mistakes. You constantly fix their errors at the last minute. They promise to change after every crisis. Their life stays afloat only because of your sacrifices, and your own life is falling into chaos because of their problems. When you remove every natural consequence, you accidentally remove their motivation to change. They learn that they can procrastinate, break promises, spend recklessly, or ignore their responsibilities. Because eventually, you will show up to clean up the mess. Someone constantly blows their budget and asks you for money at the end of the month. You help because you don't want to see them struggle. But if this repeats over and over without a plan to change, your help is simply funding their bad habits. Distinguish between a real emergency and a recurring pattern. Support them with solutions. Don't carry the entire consequence for them. Never lend money you can't afford to lose. Don't lie to cover up someone else's mistakes. Let them handle their own responsibilities. Allow natural consequences to play out when it is safe and appropriate. You cannot help an adult by living their life for them. Principle number 9. Know when to walk away. Not every situation can be fixed with better communication, more patience, or just one more chance. Signs you should consider walking away include chronic disrespect, boundaries that are constantly ignored, apologies that never lead to real change, constantly having to defend your own reality, someone creating repeated financial, emotional, or professional risk for you, feeling constant anxiety before every interaction, and relationships that survive purely on guilt or fear. Walking away doesn't always mean cutting someone off completely in a dramatic confrontation. Depending on the situation, it could mean ending a conversation, leaving a group, reducing how often you interact, changing your role at work, ending a business partnership, stopping sharing personal matters, or ending an unsafe relationship. Some problems need to be solved through communication. Others require distance. Wisdom is knowing the difference between the two. You've stated your boundary clearly multiple times. They understand it completely, but they keep crossing it anyway. At this point, the problem isn't that they don't understand. They simply don't believe you will do anything about it. Judge them by their patterns, not by one good day. Have an exit plan ready when high risks are involved. Ask trustworthy people for support. Don't announce every step if it will only trigger more drama. Prioritize your safety whenever there are hints of threats or aggression. Accept that not every relationship gets a happy ending. Sometimes the smartest way to win is to stop playing. Principle number 10. Don't let someone else's stupidity turn you into a worse person. The goal of protecting yourself isn't to become bitter, arrogant, or hateful toward everyone you meet. The danger of having too many negative experiences is that you might lose trust in everybody. React aggressively, even to minor mistakes. View every disagreement as proof of stupidity. Refuse to listen to others. Constantly feel the need to prove you're smarter, and slowly turn into the exact type of person you despise. There is a massive difference between lacking knowledge and refusing to learn, making a mistake, and denying responsibility, having a disagreement, and intentionally twisting words, being slow to understand, and being disrespectful or having a bad day, versus a toxic pattern. If you label everyone who disagrees with you an idiot, you might just be protecting your ego instead of protecting your peace. True intelligence includes the humility to realize that you could be wrong too. Criticize behaviors without writing off someone's entire human worth. Ask questions before jumping to conclusions. Accept that not everyone has access to the same information you do. Admit your own mistakes openly. Keep your sense of humor, but avoid humiliating others. Protect your boundaries without needing revenge. Don't let someone else's lack of maturity rob you of your own. To apply this effectively, remember this simple 5-step formula for dealing with a difficult person. Step 1. Observe. Is this behavior a one-time slip-up or a repeated pattern? Step 2. Clarify. State the issue using clear facts, not insults. For example, the report has been late 3 times this month, instead of saying you are completely irresponsible. Step 3. Set a boundary. Clearly state what needs to change. For example, moving forward, any scheduled changes must be confirmed in writing. Step 4. Enforce consequences. Do exactly what you said you would do if the behavior continues. Step 5. Create distance. If there is no improvement, reduce your contact, your collaboration, or your dependency on them. Observe. Clarify. Set boundaries. Enforce consequences. Create distance. It's that simple. You will never completely eliminate thoughtless people from your life. They will show up in your family, at your workplace, on social media, in relationships, or in your daily routines. You cannot control them, but you can stop endlessly arguing, oversharing, blindly trusting, rescuing people who refuse to change, tolerating disrespect, and letting their chaos become your chaos. The best protection isn't trying to outsmart them in every single conversation. It is building a life where their behavior has very little power to damage you. Less access, less information, less reaction, clearer boundaries, better documentation, and the willingness to walk away when necessary. You don't need to fix everybody. You just need to stop letting people who refuse to fix themselves ruin your life. What type of difficult person do you deal with the most? The endless arguer, the one who never takes responsibility, or the crisis creator who always expects a rescue? Share your experience in the comments below without naming names or sharing private details. And if you enjoy simple, practical videos on psychology, personal boundaries, and protecting your peace, make sure to subscribe. You don't need to defeat everybody. You just need to stop letting them make you fail. It's that simple.